Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm Guys with the Hyperloops. Alright, so let's talk legendaries for this set. There are a lot of us that pretty much go and buy boxes upon boxes or buy everything in the set. So this realistically isn't, I guess, hugely for them. It could be efficient in trading. But this is for the people that have to kind of more or less like buy bits and pieces, things that they think are more playable and whatnot, while waiting for the other stuff to drop down in price. And I'll be honest, I think I definitely wouldn't buy cases if it wasn't like pretty much at this stage of the game, where I just kind of want everything. I don't really need it because I think most cards aren't like super playable, and you can get them cheaper later. But that's neither here nor there. So, breakdown on legendaries we have for the set are 5, 5, 7, 5 blue, 5 yellow, 7 red. My firm kind of belief at this point with FFG is that you probably want to realistically crack blue legends, and not the other colors. It was my theory last set. Half of my legends were blue, and I was super excited, and there was just tons of value there, at least to begin. So we'll start with red first, because I think red has like some very valuable cards, but I don't think any of the cards is going to sit at 20 or above pretty much later. I think realistically, like every single red legend could be gotten for probably 15 or less once things start to shake out a little bit. Right now it's really early, where the set's not even supposed to be out yet. So if people start posting up cards, 20, 25, maybe even 30 for some red cards, definitely don't go buy those for 25, 30. 20 isn't like a huge loss. Like, let's say you're going to an event, you want to lay a mill, then throwing down 20 because you're not buying boxes, or 20 per card because you're not buying boxes, makes relative sense. You don't need any of the other red legends for that deck. You probably already have Yoda, so it's a cheap way to continue with mill. Rex, on the other hand, is... So his ability to take the battlefield, you're really probably almost never going to pay 1 for that. So you kind of limit yourself with running Clone Trooper. Clone Trooper is perfectly fine. He'll also get that extra ability for the reroll once you've taken the battlefield, which is also very nice. I could be completely wrong about the deck as a whole, but it should be a solid 3-wide deck. Have some options. Red has pretty much been in the shitter for a while now. They got some solid stuff with Suppressive Fire, which is the 0-cost support. After your opponent activates a character, you can pay a resource and kill this support to move one of their character decks, which is very nice versus stuff that you can't interact with, like speed or a Dooku off of a 4-speed. Especially like if you control battlefield, you can either force them to do their effects first, like Dooku, and then take 1,000, blah blah blah. So that's solid. Now the dilemma is that, like, cost-wise on Rex and even deck build, it's kind of going to be hard to come down with day one. Sorry, I got this like coughing thing, like trying to suppress it. So he's definitely one of those legends that I kind of expect to be at like 15 or 10 later, but he might sit at 20 for a bit, just because the whole stealing battlefield thing's real great. Like, even if the deck becomes highly playable, I don't think I could see it go past $20 for him, just because how restrictive his deck building is. You're really going to be sitting with Rex and a Clone Trooper. So, like, the variations are going to be who's that third person, and then, like, what you're building around. And, like, you're pretty much going to be forced to build around your your battlefield setups. So like you probably have access to, you probably play dug in, defensive position, etc. because those are very amazing cards for a single resource. What you can benefit after that's a whole other question, because I kind of see him turning into the like a vehicle type deck, just because if you get your battlefield, you know, you can continually steal it and get a resource off of it per round and make it hugely viable there. And you're probably going to try to shove a blue or a yellow character instead of another red character so that you can actually get access to kind of better removal, because their removal's real situational. So like even with defensive positions and dug in, if let's say your opponent goes first, rolls out, hits damage, you have to activate Rex to get the battlefield to then cast defensive positions. You're a 3-wide deck, so you're already going to be inherently a bit slower than other decks. Not to mention that both Clone Trooper and Rex have indirect sides, if I'm not mistaken. And then like you have like the focus and blah blah blah. So a more consistent, like let's say all melee decks could just resolve faster and potentially claim, just to put you in like weird situations. So that's why I don't like you don't run Bendu there, because if your opponent steals your battlefield from their claim, the first thing they do is they use their action, then you could take it. Like that's good if you just wanted to set up defensive position and dug-ins prior to your opponent being able to like roll out and resolve dice. But once again, neither here nor there. So going back, so yeah, I'd say he's going to be on the lower end. Pick him up for lower end cards, but don't like stress it too much. General Grievous, I would get rid of all of those that you can immediately. I think it's a really, you know, it might be a fun deck to play, but the 20-point cost is real prohibitive. The ability to avoid the play restrictions on the weapons is really nice, but it doesn't let you pack them. And what I think the only 4-die setup you can get with him still requires him to run with Bazine. So it's just like there's a lot of weird things going on there. Bazine's not like necessarily super terrible, but you're giving up your blue melee stuff to run Bazine. So then it's just like, alright, you know, what do I put, like a Royal Guard? And then you got 3 dice. Grievous is only like an heirloom die, which is solid because 2s and 3s, but like I don't think you have to care that much about that. Removal's still gonna be capable of taking his 3 out, so without like any 4-speed setups or like speed action cheating, and the fact that like focusing is just kind of costly at that point. It's just, I don't think it'll be worth it. So Grievous is going to be that guy at the beginning. People are like, oh yeah, Grievous. Which are going to be more of like the more neutral or casual players. So not necessarily saying take advantage of people, but you definitely don't want to keep a bunch of Grievuses, I think. I'm going to apologize for whatever noise stuff, because it got kind of stuffy when I closed the windows to talk. So yeah, Grievous, get rid of. Grievous' real bike, not necessarily completely shitty, because the whole pay 1 to, I forget it, to ready it, is actually pretty good. Like just kind of thing like plus. And the die size, like the problem is like the die size are not amazing. If I'm not misremembering, I think we're looking at like 1 modified 2, 3 for a resource maybe, which is solid, but we have 2 drops and 3 drops that are just better than that, like straight up. So it would have to be at the point where being slow is fine and paying the resources is very doable. You have to have an engine there, and most vehicle decks don't run a bunch of melee, so like it's really counterintuitive to what the normal play would be. I think they probably needed those to be range sides, and then to say like you had Grievous, they could resolve these melee sides. Even though it wouldn't make sense to really give it range sides anyways, but it would make it playable with other decks. But so yeah, Grievous Willbite, get out of here. Talk about Rex Blaster, which is the 5th legend. Rex Blaster is solid in that it has the 3 sets of 2. So base 2, modified 2 indirect. So from a 2-cost weapon perspective, it's cool there. It has no access to any sort of redeploy, and it can let you speed up activations. Because it's what, if you activate the character with it, and you control the battlefield, you can activate another character. So like, I think it's solid. It doesn't have a tutor, and it's unique, and no redeploy. And I guess we're gonna start seeing the potential return of some ranged hero decks that aren't vehicle based, but honestly speaking, the vehicles are just kind of safer. Like, yes, they're slower, but they're much safer. I don't really see a 2-character red X gun deck being super viable. Like, the card itself might be fine, but the modified is always kind of shitty at times, depending on how many base sides you have going with the other dice and whatever. So like, sure, maybe we see Cassie and Finn, and then they run, Cold Blaster plus, Rex's pistol. But I think it's still also kind of niched. Rex gets to jam down 2 of them on himself, but Rex might be the main target being attacked in general in the Rex deck. So it's just kind of like why do you put another, pretty much wanted poster on Rex? So I think the card's gonna be viable. I couldn't try to gauge price, but I think 20 would just be too expensive. If we look at the cards as a whole, we often see, as time goes on, the price of the set or the cards are dropping immensely for a lot of the legends. Like, sure, we know rotation's happening for the first 3 sets, but Avra's what, like $10? And she's like one of the best trilogy decks at the time. Target's probably what, 10 or 15 now. Like, everything except for the most explosive of cards drops 10-15. So spending $20 on one tends to be very tight fitting unless you're going to run the deck. I think most of the time you can probably get away with just having one of them, decide which you want to run it, and then if you find some deck where it's really good in, you can pick up a second. But to start, it's definitely just not one of the ones that I would be like, oh my god, I must have it. You'll want it later for collection purposes. You'll also want it if you play Trilogy, because it is better than, there's not many options in Trilogy. So like post-rotation is where it could start to come back. So you'll want to pick them up, but probably only as time goes on. So I think that will be higher than Rex. I think the characters tend to need to be cheaper, just because you don't tend to carry around 2 or 3 Rex decks. You might have different variations. You can carry the stack of cards to adjust, but you could have 2 different hero gun decks and need the card in each deck. But it just doesn't seem super likely, and it's not like end all be all if it's missing. Like, you could potentially easily replace it in standard decks. So it's just that anytime you can do that, you can kind of ignore it at times. Plus, they still don't have a tutor. So the last 2 legends are the Fire Hell Tank, or I don't know the order of the name. Maybe Hellfire first. But the vehicle itself is very interesting. I believe it's neutral, but don't quote me because I haven't seen the actual card. I remember reading it and then question whether to run it or not. But I know for a fact villain can run it, so I know that it's not a hero. It's either villain or neutral, and I can't recall it. But so it's a 4-drop, and I want to say you're looking at like 2 damage. Sorry, 2 range, 3 range for a resource, 2 indirect, 3 indirect. I don't remember the last 2 sides. It might have just been like shield or shield blank or shield disrupt, something like that. But the big thing about it is that when you play a vehicle, any vehicle, including itself, you can deal 1 indirect damage to the opponent. And then also, when you played a vehicle, was it a droid, included itself, you could activate it immediately. So like, essentially it had a pseudo ambush on it. It works very well with Afra, and then anytime you're casting your vehicles, you're getting extra bits of ping, which stacks up pretty nicely, especially, actually I can't remember if it's unique, I'm pretty sure it's not. It'll be like, I don't know, somehow got 2, but you'd have to have a really good engine to be able to afford that, and then jam down other ones. It seems to be one of those vehicles that'll probably get played in the Thrawn Snoke deck I was playing. Because it starts off, you know, the 1 free damage is great, and then even if I'm just doing 2 damage or 2 indirects, it's not that bad. Pretty good odds for hitting the damage sides, and I'm getting free damage off of playing more vehicles. So even if it's just, you know, 1 or 2 throughout the course of the game, I'm getting, or 1, even if it's 2 or 3 additional out of the course of the game, because itself gets 1. Like it's real strong there. I think in a regular deck though, it's not going to be able to be afforded too well. So I'd say it's probably going to be at like $10. At the beginning, I think people will kind of put it in line with the $5 cards normally. If they don't realize the whole like Afra plus Thrawn Snoke deck would really want that. So, like, in general, it's weird though, because like 3 cost is a lot, even with Afra, but it goes okay there. So like, it's gonna be tough because it might only deserve to be a $5 card, but it seems like it could be very useful in any decks that can actually afford that stuff. In general, I think a lot of the vehicle decks are going to be able to drop down to more of the 2 drops and kind of treat it like the old days where we were like, oh, here's a holdout, here's an X8, here's an LL30. So like once per round, you're dropping 1 of these down, and then you're just really slow to be able to use it. So that one's also cheap. And then Planetary Bombardment is probably, it should be a $5 legend. I would definitely say to pick up 2 real cheap. Just in case the Thrawn Snoke deck, you know, ends up being super solid. Like, I absolutely love it in the deck. I think it's a great card there, but only because I can get 6 resources to start the game pretty much, or in round 1 and then jam it down. Most decks can't afford to do that, so unless you're like running, like I can't think what you'd be running to get it. It's not a vehicle, so you can't like alpha it for 5 and then do some crazy shit. So like it's definitely going to be one of the worst legends, even though it's going to be playable in that one deck. It's kind of like when the ATST was usable, like the Ankar Plut TIE Pilot deck. Like, it was real solid there because if your friends and high places into it, you're just bashing face. But everywhere else, it was pretty bad. So even if I think someone builds a deck that can realistically play it better, there's no way that becomes a highly valued card. So that's all 7 reds. So like realistically, I think you're looking at Leia, Rex's Blaster being the viable cards, and characters, pretty much non-utility characters, tend to nosedive unless they're like real amazing. So I would say don't stress buying singles for any of those on the deck that you want to use. And most of us, or all of us, pretty much have TTS to get that testing in. So get your testing in, go to stuff, and probably find solace in that those prices on the red legends are going to drop pretty heavily. We'll go through yellow. So we've only got 5 here, but it's Cassian, DJ, Darksaber, and then it's Stealthy and Formidable. So Cassian's going to be the one to own. And so Cassian's weird in that he is filthy amazing, but finding the right deck for him is going to be the hard part. You really need to keep him alive to get the benefit from him the entire time. He still only has 1/2 for the damage sides, so you do have to resolve his dice, which means you're probably more often than not actually looking for rerolls. But just remember that resource 1/2 is great, and discard's perfectly fine because you still get the 1 indirect, so you don't have to feel nearly as bad. The rest of the deck does have to pull through with trying to get direct damage in, though, to make the indirect kind of a bit better. Just because, let's say you start off, hitting whoever, the deck will make it so you'll be able to switch targets, because after you've resolved 4 of his dice, there's 4 damage elsewhere besides the main guy you were going for. So it'll give you some freedom to switch targets if someone tanks up too heavily on the guy you were going after, which is real nice. The dilemma is going to be is he going to end up being a 3-wide type deck that can protect him better with flanks and garbage shoots, or is there going to be some speedy 2-drop fast damage deck where, because people go after him, you get to suit up the other character or whatever, and it's going to be tough because there's really just not amazing guns. There's amazing vehicles, but the vehicles aren't going to make people switch targets. So if you go more gun based, then it gets tougher on your damage output. Well, not damage output, but if you go gun based, it's harder on removal because the cost is so hard to cope with. Vehicles are just much worse, and Cassian being the main guy means that your other 2 go into setups for damage, so you don't have a huge ramp engine there. But you could technically, let's say if you went something like Jedha, Cassian, 3rd character, I don't know, red or blue almost doesn't matter there, I think. You can even go Temple Guard for protection. You could run, I think it's a Scrap Heap, which when you mill your opponent, you get to get a resource. So what'll happen there is after Cassian resolves his dice, you'll get the indirect, which will trigger the Jedha to do the mill. And then if they try to target Jedha to take that effect away, you could always just mill them with Cassian on the resolution to get a resource. So you could have an actual engine there, 3-wide, and the blue would give you access to both cautions and force illusions, and you would have the Temple Guard to be able to try to give Cassian that extra health. The +2 on the Temple Guard would be real bad, but sometimes you make do with what you got. He's got shields and 1 damage, and the longer you can keep the guy alive, Cassian alive, the more you can do. There's also the whole Ayla Cassian build to last. So Cassian, I expect to probably maintain his $20 value, no questions. Potentially go up, especially at the beginning. People are going to be all over this guy. If you don't have any intention of playing him, I'd say sell him immediately, just because the value you can get. Don't take 20, probably take 30. 30 seems like a solid value that you can get for him. I don't know if he can reach the 40s that Yoda, Force Speed, Ancients have done, but people will probably think that it will. So I'd say go with it. Buying him at 20 is probably where he's going to just, sit more or less. 30, 35 is fine. So yeah, I think Cassian's really good. He's definitely something you want to have. So we'll go to the next one. DJ's an interesting guy because he brings a whole new kind of metric to the table. So like you're looking at 2/2 resource, and then was a disrupt discard, and they put disrupt discard on all sorts of shit. So like I dislike DJ a bunch, but the reason I dislike it is because the way we kind of treat removal nowadays. So like I tend to play blue. We're playing Force Illusion, so that's not actual removal. Your villain, you probably want Doubt. That's still not actual removal for DJ's ability. So let's say you went like 12 removal, 12 for your plan. You've got 6 left for like what, 2 Philps, and maybe like a resource engine. Well connected or truces or something to help money, because you're going to be playing mitigation. It's going to be real tough there. If they had like a 1 cost support that was like, oh, when you remove one of your opponent's dice, you can exhaust it to gain a resource, then he could have some flair there. But the thing is you're going to have an engine to more or less go with him. So like he has the 2/2 damage side, which is solid. You could play guns with him, but then how do you afford the 1 cost removal that you need in order to stop things? Which partner do you pair him with? There's only 14 points left to work with, and you obviously want a different color. If he was hero, it's different because easy pickings would be bonkers, but you probably want like Mind Trick, so you go blue. Who's 14 or less that you could go there? Like technically you could probably go Snoke, but then do you want to damage your DJ? What are you going to build around, like upgrade or vehicle based, etc., etc. So like in theory, Snoke could be a potential one. Just DJ's going to get focused down. What does Snoke do after? You could put like chance cubes in there, have a bunch of removal. It's just how are you going to get the kill? Since Snoke doesn't really bring additional damage to the table, he brings indirect, but he brings the focus sides, which are great. So like it could be one of those interesting things. Like maybe it's solid. I think 20 is too high for him. I don't know why. Like I understand why people are real excited. I just think it's not going to be as amazing as you want. We don't always want to mitigate people's dice every round. So the average expectation is what? If they attack him, you get to round 3. Round 3 is normally where you hope. Like I live in round 2 kill land. So round 3, you'd expect him to die by the end of round 3, unless you're winning the game. So you'd have to hope at that point to have gotten 3 dice mitigated. Round 1's normally pretty hard to get real mitigation, especially if you're running like Hidden Motive. So like Hidden Motive's only like on average 50-50 to mitigate the die. So it's just like it's probably like 33% to mitigate, but it gets you off that damn side. So like, do you start trying to mitigate a die because you're trying to mitigate off Hidden Motive when you shouldn't? And like maybe you just get through that first round without mitigation, like without mitigating. So like is his ability worth 2 damage in the course of a game? I assume you can mitigate like once per round, and let's say you just whiff the first round because of money concerns. Then like where are you at? So like my thing there is that I don't know if I'd be fine paying 16 for him and his die sides with only getting 2 damage from his ability. I think if he had a shield on his die instead of like a disrupt, I could get down with Snoke a bit better, because then you can start representing 4 damage, or pretty much caution off of his own die with the shields or money. But maybe he goes with like Phasma or something, and you just suit up Phasma while you're getting all this damage in. But like, would I just rather have Boba? Would I rather have 2/2 special resource disrupt instead of the discard and get like more sets of damage there? I think they have the same amount of health, so it's just kind of like, he fights with Boba in that regard, and Boba threatens a lot of things off of his special. So it's kind of one of those tough ones, but he does line up better in the gun-based deck with Phasma to do that, but then he loses the access to Throne Room. So who knows? We'll find out. I don't see him maintaining that $20 one. He's the one I could be wrong about if a deck somehow comes to fruition. But I just think if you go and pay more than $20, you're definitely losing out. So try to stay under that. 15's probably fine. I could see him becoming that $10, legendary that people don't play, just because his cost is too high and then Snoke's broken. Crap, I have like negative time here. So I'll quickly, Formidable and Stealthy, I think are interestingly good cards. The whole cargo hole setup from Formidable, where if you deal the damage and it gets through, then you can move one of their upgrades over. It may not even be upgrade. It might even be like weapon or equipment. So I'd have to just reread it. But that could be really, really annoying and amazing versus 2-character decks, especially the non-shield based ones, because if they activate the first guy and then haven't used whatever upgrade die yet and roll out the second guy because they're trying to maintain better rerolls, then it's like boom, 1 damage, shift that out, I die removed, which could be solid in like a more like control-y type deck, but you're still getting 1 damage, so it's like alright, whatever. Stealthy on the other hand is a very solid mill card. Goes very well with like, let's say you're going to do like Cassian Yoda or something, because it does similar to is a force manipulation for the mill one. Plus he gives you indirect if you want to like Jettas for the new set stuff, so like that's real solid. Cassian, DJ, Formidable, Darksaber. Darksaber's the weird one. I think 4's still a lot for a unique. I mean, for an upgrade, because if like on a vehicle, you can get the money after all you guys are tapped out, then jam it down and then use it. Whereas for Darksaber, your other guy needed to be alive. You got the money, then you cast it. I think its main thing would be if there's a 15-15 team, because then it still gets the benefit of the 1 extras, but doesn't have like huge downfalls. I could see it being used in like a Hondo type deck. Hondo somebody else, so you got the 15-15 going. I don't know if there's any other 15-15 comps I'd really want that were yellow somehow, because I can't even think of another 15-point yellow guy. Any of the 16-14s doesn't seem amazing. 2010s might be fine, because the 2 on it's real great, but then you're running 2010, and we haven't had a real good 2010 deck outside of Sabine. So like, what the hell do you do there? Blah, blah, we go to blue. So blue, I love most of the cards. The worst one is probably Fish Brothers Lightsaber, and that's not even that bad. I think it's a worse Maul Saber, unless you're playing Fifth Brother, and Fifth Brother I think is just not good enough. So I'd avoid it if possible, just because it has too many modified sides. And I think the 1 damage being separated isn't wholly relevant, whereas Maul Saber's ability to come back out is super relevant. So that's down for me. Snoke, if you can get those for 20, grab them. In my mind, this guy is going to be the guy that people have many different deck builds around, and he's like the most annoying asshole ever. Yoda-esque, except he causes people to have to remove early. So like a discard side, the single discard side, you have to almost kill it if you need any of the cards in your hand, whereas Yoda doesn't really do that as much. Like, he flips and then people kill a die, and this dude's just like, oh, all of my dice are super live and super busted, like, deal with it. So 20, 25, no problem throwing that money at it. I already have. Luke seems real solid. I don't know what ability based decks you could really abuse off of it, but we'll kind of find it over time. He's probably going to stay at a solid 20, just because he's fucking Luke. But I wouldn't stress him too much. I think with Rey and Ayla, we have really good solid pieces already. Maybe he's better than Rey, but that 1 damage from Rey is amazing. We need that ability shift to be super solid. So we went Luke, Snow, Ezra's Lightsaber. I'd spend $20 on it all day. It may end up only being a one of, but that's because we have a tutor. It's going to be super used in Trilogy. It's going to be around for forever. Pick them up. I think 20 is probably the lowest it'll ever be. Probably sits at 30. Like, X8 was 30 for how long? Because it was just played so much. And the last one is the Dagger of Mortis, or Mortis Dagger. I don't know which way they wrote it. You're going to need these. 3-drop redeploy, 2/2 +3, and you can steal shields off of a blue character. You can take them off your own dudes in like a multicolor team if one guy got shields off, let's say like a caution or something. And you can like siphon them over. You have to be resolving your melee die to do it, but that'll let you steal shields before you hit a guy. So it's like it tries its best to be like a pseudo vibro, you know. But that stealing a shield is a 2 damage difference. They lost the health and you gained 1. So like that's just complete and utter filth, especially if that it's doable over and over, not even just like when you cast it. So definitely pick those up. Redeploy, neutral. Probably going to be all over the place. It probably may even end up being just higher than Ezra Saber, because Ezra Saber's only hero, but I could see where both are very used. I expected to see a massive amount of play over Heirloom, unless you're just straight up missing base melee sides. But we'll find out. 2/2 +3, amazing. That's pretty much it. You guys have a good one, and I gotta run out to work. Deuces!